Welcome, everybody. This is the Crest Report. I'm Tim Conway Jr., and across from me is a guy who knows more about gold than anybody I know, Rich from GoldenCrest Metals. How you, man?
Great. How you doing there, Tim?
Buddy, what a week for gold. There was one day where I saw it was up $114 or $118.
Yeah, it went up to almost $200 from its average of the week prior and dipped a little bit the latter part of the week, but it's still up.
Since we've been doing the show, I think this is our 6th episode, it's up nearly $200.
Yeah, in this short period of time.
Yeah. So you've been around gold much longer than I have, but I don't remember these big swings. I remember back in the 90s or early 2000s, it may go up $3 or $4 or down $3 or $4. I've never seen these huge swings.
I think we're seeing these swings because of everything going on in the economy, with inflation, just the tariffs. The government shutdown has now been eliminated since the last time we aired. So there's still economic uncertainty of what's going on, especially with unemployment. So I think we're starting to see these swings to show the confidence that people have in gold and silver versus the U.S. dollar.
Oh, I see. Okay. We're about the same age. When we were younger, there may have been one or two big news stories a month. And now it seems like there's one or two big news stories an hour.
I was going to say like every day.
It's unbelievable.
It's hard to keep up with everything. And it's hard to track everything because it's changing, like you said, hourly of what's going on with either tweets from the president or just global news of what's going on. I mean, China's buying up more gold. I mean, everything is affecting the gold and silver process.
Trump is a showman at heart. So whenever he goes to a foreign country, he knows to keep all the eyes in the world on him, he has to make a major announcement. And that's what he does. Sometimes it affects the economy positively. Sometimes it has a negative effect. But there's always major breaking news when he goes overseas.
Yeah, and sometimes even when he stays here domestically and makes news, you can see how it triggers the market.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so the deal is still going on for the free silver. Is that correct?
Yeah, the deal's still going on.
All right, probably until the end of the year, and it won't go on much past that. So you've got to call this number right now. You're eligible. If you make a qualifying purchase, you could get $25,000 in free silver. It has to be premium mintage coins, $25,000 in silver. It's essentially 10% of your investment up to $250,000. So if some guy called up and said he wants to, put in $10,000, would he get 10% of that in silver?
Yes, he would get $1,000. Excellent.
Okay. All right, so call this number right now and get 10% of your investment in free silver. Free silver. 833-362-3843. Write that number down or punch it in your phone. Call them up right now. There are people in the office today waiting for your call, and you get 10% of your investment in free silver with a qualifying purchase. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. You can also go to the website, GoldenCrestMetals.com, GoldenCrestMetals.com. Now, I've heard you talk over the last couple of weeks about a recession is already here.
I believe so. I at my age and your age as well, we've been through a couple recessions.
That's right.
I mean, now what we're seeing is unemployment, and then it's also affecting, car payments, mortgages, everything. So we're starting to, the sign's already there, and people, I think a third of Americans already think we're in a recession as it is.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, the dramatic effects of it.
It's amazing that, everyone talks about they're being broke. I got friends who are broke, family members who are broke. Yet you go to Walmart or Target or the mall and it's packed.
I think broke has a different meaning these days than it did back in the 80s. It really does. It's not the same, Right. So I don't think people
That's when we were responsible in the 80s. You wouldn't bump a credit card. Now you'll bump a credit card.
You'll bump a credit card, But back in the 80s, you would have money in your account and you would say you were still broke.
That's right.
But, these days it's like I have no money in the account, but I have this credit card that I can use. So I'm still okay.
There was a guy who used to do radio up in San Francisco. I think it was Mike Savage that said this. He said back in the early 1900s, 1920 or 1930, when a relative started a brand new store, whether it's a hardware store or just a convenience store, everybody in the family, all the neighbors, all the friends, all the relatives would show up and they'd pay cash to get him up on his feet when he started the new business.
Mhm.
He said nowadays, the same people show up, but they put everything on a credit card. Then they go home and deny the charges.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people call me and say, "I want to buy gold and silver. I'll give you my Amex." And I'm like, "No, that doesn't work. I'm sorry."
Has that ever worked? I mean, could you ever put gold on an?
I'm sure you could. I mean, we wouldn't accept it. It's too dangerous. Like you said, a lot of people just deny the charges these days.
Right.
They look. You look at them wrong and they deny the charge.
Right. Maybe the first time and the last time it happened, maybe at Costco when they sold out all that gold. I guess you could still put that on your Visa.
That's interesting. I guess that's a point. Yeah.
Or cash. I don't know how they.
And I forgot how, I think at Costco, there's one credit card you can't use, I think.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's one you can't.
Do you remember, you go back far enough, like me, it was the Price Club, and it was always American Express.
Yeah, it was.
That was the only card that they took.
Yeah.
And then I guess Visa dropped a ton of money on them, and they went to a Visa.
Yeah, and then I remember some places where you couldn't even use an Amex because, the customer's always right.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
So.
All right, call this number right now. Get yourself up to $25,000 in free silver, but this deal is going away at the end of the year. And we're already in, mid to late November. So phone them up right now. Don't pass up on this deal. You're going to regret it. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. Or go to the website, GoldenCrestMetals.com. GoldenCrestMetals.com. I got a quick story for you, speaking of credit cards. A friend of mine went to Northwestern University. He graduated number one in his class in law school. And immediately he was hired by Visa. Visa paid him a ton of money to go work for them. And so we went to celebrate New York. It was about 12 of us. And the dinner came to, I think, like $2,400, wine and champagne and all kinds of, great food. And he went to pay with his Visa card. And the restaurant owner said, "We're going to charge you 3% extra to use Visa." And the guy said, "Well, that's against Visa's rules. You can't do that. They'll take away your privilege to use Visa." And the guy says, "No, we do it all the time." He said, "I'll just call Visa tomorrow and hash it out with them." He said, "Okay, but when you call Visa tomorrow, I'm the guy you're going to be calling." And when you lose the ability to take Visa, you're done.
Yeah, you are. You're done.
Yeah. I mean, how Diners Club and all these other, cards.
Diners Club.
Yeah, you know what?
That's a funny card.
I constantly get these things where they offer me a credit card for like $5,000, and I fill it out and I send it back, and they're like, "Nah, we're not interested in your type."
Yeah, pre-approved.
Yeah, but they attacked me first. They said, "Hey, here's a credit limit." We always get in trouble. I'm sure you did the same thing when you were younger. You get the first credit card and you go nuts.
Yeah, of course. You see something in the store. I remember there used to be computer stores like CompUSA, Circuit City.
Yeah.
God, what else was there?
Radio Shack.
Yeah. All those stores. You'd go in there and you'd go nuts.
Yeah.
And just want to buy everything and say, "Well, I got a credit card, so I can afford it."
That's great.
Let me work out my monthly payment.
All right, call this number right now and get yourself 10% of your investment in free silver for a qualifying purchase, and that's premium mintage coins. By the way, before I give out the number again here, what is the premier mintage coin? What is the one where you love to have one, you just haven't been able to find it or
I don't
grab
think
it?
there's a specific one. I think the ones from the Perth Mint, which are the Australian ones, are really the ones that people go after.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously the British and the Canadian that people really like, but the Australian ones are really in demand right now.
It used to be the South African one. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that as well. That was kind of a hot button for a while, but now I'm starting to see the Australian ones getting eaten up alive.
And where is that Australian premium mintage coin? Is that gold mined in Australia?
I don't know if it's mined there or how that works exactly. I just know through the Perth Mint, which is the facility that we purchased through,
right?
That all their coins are premium mintage. They don't have any regular coins.
Oh, is that right?
That I've come across, at least.
Oh, that's great. All right, call this number right now. Get yourself up to 10% in free silver. That means you can get $25,000 in free silver from Rich's company, GoldenCrest Metals. Just call this number right now, 833-362-3843. 3843. 833 362 3843. One more time. 833 362 3843. Last week, we talked about a guy who pulled out some of his money out of his 401k and he went to invest in gold. We got an email over the week here from one of the listeners of the show asking how to start that process. How do you start it? How do you sort of engage
It's
in
really
that?
kind of an easy process. I mean, anybody who has a TSP, a 401k, IRA, it moves over into something called a self-directed IRA, which you can move precious metals into. We basically do something called a custodial call, and we transfer the money to the new custodian, which deals with precious metals. The account gets funded, and then we meet with the customer and over the phone. I try not to do it in person these days because it's too much traveling.
Right.
But once you meet with them over the phone, you go over the type of metals, the pricing, and the selection. And only when they approve everything does the process begin where the metals are then shipped to a depository for storage.
Okay, here's the phone number right now. Call Rich and get yourself up to $25,000 in free silver. From what I understand, Rich, the silver goes from you guys or wherever you buy it right into somebody else's account or safe as soon as the purchase is complete?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so it's premium mintage coins, $25,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. 10% of your purchase is going to be turned into free silver, and that's yours immediately. 833 362 3843. 833 362 3843. 833 362 3843. It makes sense to do that because there are a lot of companies right now, since COVID and since the downturn in the economy, they're not matching on 401ks.
No, they're not. And people are getting locked out from when read.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're getting locked out of their 401k. So, and you still have these financial advisors that are, the gatekeepers of,
Right.
Some of the bigger accounts that don't like their money touched. So anytime we come in, we're viewed as the enemy. And, we say, well, listen, we're offering more of a return than you are. So don't you want the best for your customer?
Right.
And, they try to hypnotize the customer and say, listen, this is just a fad. It's going to go away. It's going to crash. And meanwhile, it's never crashed if you look at history, but stocks have. So we have to educate the customers. We try not to force their hand, but we try to tell them, listen, this is the best thing that's going on. And you can see it's not crashing. And before, there was no artificial intelligence or semiconductors or electric cars that there were 10 years ago.
Right.
Now we have all this new technology that requires silver. So, and things are going to continue to expand. And, sometimes people say, well, let me think about it. I don't know what they're thinking about. There's the time to act is now. And then people call and say, well, I should have done this 6 months ago, so I'm just going to wait longer. I say, okay, well, then I guess you'll wait till it doubles.
Another 6 months is going to come and go anyway. And if you don't do it, you're going to kick yourself again.
Yeah, it's the same story. I mean, I hear it day in and day out, and I don't know what else to do at this point to try to help somebody, by telling them, listen, if you're not going to do it now, then don't do it at all. Okay.
Right.
Because it's not worth the brain damage.
Right. Okay. Here's the phone number right now. Call Rich and get yourself up to $25,000 in free silver. From what I understand, Rich, the silver goes from you guys or wherever you buy it right into somebody else's account or safe as soon as the purchase is complete?
That's exactly right.
Okay. So it's premium mintage coins, $25,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. 10% of your purchase is going to be turned into free silver, and that's yours immediately. 833 362 3843. 833 362 3843. 833 362 3843.
If you've left your money with your financial advisor or the bank, then you wouldn't be calling us.
That's true. That's true.
That's the biggest thing. You wouldn't be calling us to say, listen, I'm thinking about it. If you're thinking about it, then you know that you want to do it. And that's the biggest thing.
Right. But I also think that, if you call your financial advisor and you say, I'm moving 20% of my portfolio into gold with Rich over at GoldenCrest, and then they get pissed, that's even a better sign that you made the right decision. It's almost like breaking up with a girlfriend and the girlfriend said, "You'll never meet anybody like me again," and she gets angry. It's easier to walk away than if they're just sweet about it.
It is easier to walk away. The problem is they use scare tactics, with the customer. It's not going to return. It's, like I said, it's going to crash. You don't know what you're going to do with the metals when you need to liquidate them. We go through the whole process of what ifs,
Right.
And we say, listen, your metals are insured. They're in a depository. We go through all the answers or rebuttals that the financial advisor throws at them, or whatever their self-doubts are of putting money into precious metals.
And I think a lot of them, maybe not the majority, but a significant amount of them, their financial advisor is a family friend or a personal friend, and they want to keep peace for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, these are people that they've had their money with them for, 10 plus years, so they trust them,
Yeah.
completely. But, it's that old saying, what have you done for me lately?
Right. But it also, for people who are just tuning in, again, it's Tim Conway Jr. and Rich here for the Crest Report. My father is a great example of that. My dad stuck with his same manager, his same accountant, his same, publicist, all the same people his whole life. He never changed and became part of the current fad or the current investments or the current way to do things. And those people have a tendency to be broke at the end of their life. Okay, here's the phone number right now. Call Rich and get yourself up to $25,000 in free silver. From what I understand, Rich, the silver goes from you guys, or wherever you buy it, right into somebody else's account or safe as soon as the purchase is complete?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so it's premium mintage coins, $25,000 in free silver with the qualifying purchase. 10% of your purchase is going to be turned into free silver, and that's yours immediately. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843.
Nobody likes change in anything in life.
Right, but in this area, you have to.
In this area, you have to. You have to adapt.
Right.
It's one of those things. When I originally was looking into it, I really did my research on it because I was thinking this is really a 180 from where I'm coming from. And is this something that's viable and is long term? Even the person that owns the place, it looked at this thing with skepticism, thinking, is this the right move? Because it's different. And
Sure.
then once you get your feet wet, you get comfortable, and then you start saying, okay, now I understand it. I understand the returns. I understand the history. I understand what's going on in the news and how it's affecting. And now you move forward.
Right. And they also sleep better at night after talking to you and realizing there are, like an elevator, there are many levels of protection over their gold.
There's many levels of protection. And we're also saying you're not taking your whole account
Right.
and your whole life savings and throwing it into a bucket.
Right.
We're taking 20% usually, and that's kind of the new ratio that has, been floating around with Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, is that you're doing the 60-20-20 now instead of it zero. So they're now endorsing precious metals to that 20% portfolio. Well, I even caution people, sometimes when they say, I want to do everything, I'm like, I won't do it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I won't do it.
Wow.
Because it's dangerous. In aspect of if you need fast money for groceries, utility bills, tax bills, whatever the case may be, there's necessities that you need money for that you still have to pay.
Right.
So unfortunately, you can't pay the IRS tax bill with a bar of gold.
I bet there was a time you probably could.
Probably could. But, those are the things, I try to stay away from is, pushing the max on it. Because, people still need to diversify their portfolio. And even when we talk to financial advisors, I tell them, listen, we're not taking the whole account. We're just taking a portion and putting this customer into precious metals.
Okay, here's the phone number right now. Call Rich and get yourself up to $25,000 in free silver. From what I understand, Rich, the silver goes from you guys, or wherever you buy it, right into somebody else's account or safe as soon as the purchase is complete?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so it's premium mintage coins, $25,000 in free silver with the qualifying purchase. 10% of your purchase is going to be turned into free silver, and that's yours immediately. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. And you have to adapt with the times. If you don't, you're going to pay for it at the end. Here's a perfect example of that. I was up in Oregon. This must have been 15 years ago. I was up in Oregon and in Portland, beautiful city. And I went to a mall there. And I went into the Sears looking to buy a new computer cord. I needed a cord for the mouse. And I looked around Sears, and I didn't want to ask anybody. It was Christmas. Everybody was busy, and I didn't want to bother anybody. And I wanted to find it myself. I like finding stuff myself, and I had time to waste. So I looked around for 45 minutes to find where the computer department was at Sears. And I finally asked the guy, I said, hey, I need a mouse here and a mouse pad. Where can I find this here? And he says, we don't sell computers. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh. I said, do you have a second? And he said, yeah. We were at a mall, and I took him outside the mall. And you can see from the entrance of Sears, you can see the Apple store. I said, you see that line at the Apple store? Those are people just waiting to get in to the Apple store. There must have been 200 people in line. If you don't adapt, you're going to be like Sears, and eventually go out of business.
Yeah, it's interesting. You remember big screen TVs? They were all these independent companies that were selling, there was like Ken Cranes or something like that.
Oh,
where
yeah.
You could go to anywhere to buy a big screen TV, and then there's Best Buy, and there was Circuit City and a couple other places. Now there's just Best Buy. Everyone goes to Best Buy.
That's right.
But also people go to Best Buy as kind of a showroom, and then they go to Amazon and buy the product.
Right?
Yeah. So, I think
that's horrible.
I think Best Buy is adapting their online portal because of that, because a lot of people come in, look around, and say, yeah, that looks nice. I'll go on Amazon and go buy it now. Now I know what it looks like.
You constantly see that at stores, people on their computer checking the price online. Walmart was that way. Walmart saw that Amazon was taking over the world. And now Walmart, for $100 a year, they offer free shipping, mostly same day on anything. It's a great idea. If you're a senior, you live alone, and you can't, lift 40 bottles of Arrowhead water, they'll do it for you for free. Yeah. Companies like that adapt, and that's how they stay afloat, and that's how they stay alive. But companies like Kmart and Sears and Radio Shack, they didn't adapt, and now they're gone.
Yeah. That's
So
the whole point.
So personally, you have to adapt to situations like this. You can't just sit there with money in the bank. You're going to go broke. Money is becoming worth less and less every single day. So call Rich right now. Get the free silver with a qualifying purchase. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. Or go to GoldenCrestMetals.com. You said earlier people getting locked out of their 401ks. Is it being confiscated, or they just can't move the money around?
They just can't move the money around.
Really?
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's widespread or isolated, but it was something in the news I was reading about that situation. And I fear that, we went through 2008, through that whole crisis. And I kind of fear that we're going through that again, with people missing their car payments, mortgage payments. They're all at record highs right now, which is signaling that we're going to go into this recession pretty hard and fast. But there's people still making money in gold and silver, which, is amazing. Yeah. When I get these calls from people saying, wow, I'm making money. But then with inflation up 3%, and you got the banks only paying you 3 to 4%, like you said, you're losing money.
And again, from a very untutored opinion, the only safe place to be when the economy goes south is precious metals.
Yeah, precious metals or having money under your mattress. You remember those were the old days.
Yeah, but having money in precious metals has been a rule of thumb for a long time because it happens to work.
Yeah, for thousands of years. And you can't even use cash anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody
you're
uses. Right. I remember, back in the 80s, you'd have a wallet full of cash, and now it's basically worthless. Nobody carries cash anymore. It's credit cards and debit cards, and that's the way to function. That's even losing its value in itself.
Yeah. The very first company I remember they denied cash is probably about 25 years ago. I went to FedEx, and they said, we don't take cash. And I was like stunned.
Yeah.
They don't know cash. And now there are hundreds of businesses now that don't take cash at all. It keeps the employees more honest, too.
I remember the food trucks. I remember you could only.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, those have now turned to credit cards and debit cards.
Yeah. All right, call this number right now. We got to take a break, but during the break, call this number right now. Talk to Rich. Talk to people at the office. Up to $25,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase of premium mintage coins. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. It's Tim Conway Jr. and Rich right here on the Crest Report. Welcome back to the Crest Report. Tim Conway Jr. and Rich here every single weekend right on this beautiful station. You can call us or call Rich and ask about the free silver that he's offering. It's a sweet deal, but it's not going to go on past the first of the year, so don't pass this opportunity up. Fortunately, while you're driving around this weekend, you're listening to the station, and that's going to mean money in your pocket. When you call Rich and you buy up to $250,000 in premium mintage coins, you're going to get 10% of your purchase thrown into free silver that is going to be yours. Up to $250,000 investment, that means $25,000 in free silver can be yours. And that silver is yours immediately after the transaction closes. So phone them up right now. Call Rich. There are people in the office right now, 833-362-3843, and ask how you can qualify to get 10% of your investment in free silver. 833-362-3843. All right, we talked a little bit about car payments and house payments, and I want to ask you about this because I heard President Trump talk about this, introducing the 50-year mortgage on a house.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes much of a difference.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's like $100 a month, maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
But you're paying it off for another, 20 years,
Yeah.
and it's a tremendous amount in interest.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand if you go to, like in Japan, they have 100-year loans. I
Yeah.
get that. I get a 100-year loan. Maybe it'll knock your payment down by 75%. But a 50-year loan,
it's like, I think it was a couple $100 or maybe $200 difference.
It's not going to mean the difference between a beautiful home and a horrible home.
No, it's not. And I don't think it's going to change your lifestyle at all anyways.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Because they said if you have a mortgage of $4,000, that it's going to go down to $3,800. Well, $200 over the year, that's $2,400 in a year. But you're going to pay that and more over the last 20 years when that loan's still open.
And what are the requirements on the credit score? Did they lower them?
Yeah, because that's what happened in 2008.
Exactly. So we're just repeating history.
Right, in a different fashion. I'm glad you said that because a lot of people deny that happened, but you're a specialist. You're in the financial world. When they lowered the requirements to get a loan, that's what got people in trouble.
Yeah, that's what tanked everything.
Yeah.
People,
and then we all paid for it.
People were getting houses that shouldn't have been getting them.
Right, like me.
It was a horrible situation, and, it was a complete collapse.
833-362-3843. Call Rich. There's somebody in the office right now, and with your purchase of premium mintage coins, you're going to get 10% of your purchase in free silver. So let's say you buy $100,000 worth of gold, you're going to get $10,000 worth of free silver. $200,000 worth of premium mintage coins, you're going to get $20,000 worth of free silver. And then the ultimate payday, $250,000 worth of premium mintage coins, and then you immediately get $25,000 in free silver. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843 or GoldenCrestMetals.com. Do you remember this in 2006 and 2007, right before the collapse? People would buy a home in the San Fernando Valley for $450,000, and then you'd move into your home on a Friday or a Saturday, and by Monday, in your mailbox, you had 10 offers for HELOCs, and you could take money out on a home that you don't even really own yet.
Yeah, and they stopped that from happening. Now you have to be seasoned in a house for, I think, about a year before you can get a HELOC.
Oh, is that right? That's good.
Yeah, they stopped that from happening.
Yeah,
because I think after 2008.
Yeah, because those people took that HELOC and went out and bought a BMW or a nice car.
Yeah, living high on the hog, that's how it went.
And so you're seeing cars coming back and people defaulting on loans?
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see it with missed car payments, being reported. So it's going to happen with mortgage payments as well. I don't think we've gotten to the 2008 crisis yet, but all the signs are there and they're starting to show and bleed.
How can that be averted or stopped? Anything?
There's so many variables and multiples involved in that process. I mean, just, we're in a tailspin right now.
Right.
And we're trying to figure out how to get out of it. And like you mentioned, these 50-year loans is not helping the situation. You're just going to put people further in debt,
right,
or into a house they shouldn't be in. And it's the same thing with the car payments. Now they're kind of lowering the limits of what it takes to get into a car. And then the car is just going to be repoed, 90 days later.
Right.
So, it's a terrible situation. Unfortunately, we have to hit the reset button.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's a lot of, especially in California where you and I both live, there are a lot of people who are fighting for rent control. For instance, in Burbank, California, they just passed something, in the middle of the night by limiting the rent increase to 4% a year. Mm-hmm. Well, the people who own those apartment buildings, they weren't raising rents for sometimes 3, 4, 5 years in a row. But now that they invoke that, they have to raise it in hopes that if something happens in the future, they have that money. So it's going to actually cost them more.
Yeah.
And 4% a year, if you have a $3,000 payment or rent, that goes up by, 120 the first year, 140 the second year, and it goes up. And literally in 10 years, you're paying, almost $5,000 a month.
Yeah. It's just a domino effect.
Yeah, it's crazy. And those people, it seems like those people always get burned in life. The people that really need the helping hand.
Yeah, the people that are struggling always seem to be the ones that get screwed.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's the way it always has been.
Over and over and over. All right, let's call this number right now, and then we're going to come back and talk about the rate cut here. 833-362-3843. You can get $25,000 in free silver. That's right, up to $25,000 in free silver with your purchase of premium mintage coins. 833-362-3843. It's 10% of your purchase. So if you purchase $100,000 worth of premium mintage coins, you get $10,000 in free silver. $10,000, and that's yours. 833-362-3843. Are there shortages on the premium mintage coins?
I'm starting to see it, yes. I'm actually starting to see it almost on everything.
Really?
Except the heavily saturated ones you find online, like American Eagles, Buffaloes.
Right.
Those type of coins. You can always see those online. But the other ones are becoming harder to get.
Are they all the same quality of gold?
They're all 99.9% pure.
And I'm sure, look, I think it was Butch Cassidy's Sundance Kid, the guy who wrote that, William Goldman, when they were shooting down in New Mexico, doubling it as Bolivia, a woman came up to William Goldman, who wrote Butch Cassidy, and said, you shouldn't do a movie on crime. Crime doesn't pay. And his line was, if it didn't pay, it wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
But I'm sure there are a lot of people, maybe not, you've not run into them, but, that are pushing something that's not 99.9% pure gold. How do you test it for that, or what is the rule of thumb on that?
So the depository checks everything.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they check everything, and we only buy from authorized wholesalers.
Oh, that's great.
So, I hear these stories, like we've talked in the last couple of weeks, of people saying they buy below spot, they buy 1% above spot. I have heard all the stories. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather pay a little more to ensure that I have the right product.
Right.
It's just,
nobody's paying a lower in spot.
No, they're not for the same product. No.
Unless you're ripping off some old woman.
Yeah, you're beating her down or something.
Yeah, those are the only guys paying less than spot. 833-362-3843. Call Rich. There's somebody in the office right now. And with your purchase of premium mintage coins, you're going to get 10% of your purchase in free silver. So let's say you buy $100,000 worth of gold. You're going to get $10,000 worth of free silver. $200,000 worth of premium mintage coins. You're going to get $20,000 worth of free silver. And then the ultimate payday, $250,000 worth of premium mintage coins, and then you immediately get $25,000 in free silver. 833-362-3843. 3843 or GoldenCrestMetals.com. What about the rate cut in December? We're going to see it?
I think so. I think it's gonna trigger another situation that we're gonna encounter.
Really? What do you think it is? What do you think the rate cut's going to be?
I don't know if it'll be another quarter.
Could it be a half or
It may be half.
really?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the effect of that going to be, you think?
Well, now that we're nearing the holidays, I think it's going to drive the price of gold still and silver. And I think that we're starting to see it outside the U.S. with all these other countries buying up gold and silver. Like, we see China, India, and they're all buying it up by the metric ton. That situation is occurring. Even with this rate cut situation, they keep trying to find a silver bullet to fix the situation in the economy. And there's not one thing, like we talked about, that's going to fix the economy.
Right.
I don't care they do another rate cut. Yes, it'll help gold and silver, in my opinion, but it's not going to fix everything.
Right. And what about I read an article about the October jobs, that data may never be released because it wasn't released because of the government shutdown.
I agree. We'll probably never see that.
Really?
Or if we do see it, it'll be a decade from now.
And it may not even be, believable or legitimate because there wasn't anybody there to work on it.
No, there wasn't anybody to work on it. And the confidence level of consumers and Americans is going to go down even further once they actually probably do hear the data.
That data, when you and I were kids, you'd watch it on a Sunday night, 60 Minutes. They always talked about these numbers and, the economy and jobs. Jobs was a big thing when it came out. All the ABC, NBC, and CBS led with the jobs report. Now that those are going back and retroactively being manipulated, that's another thing we don't trust anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information out there that we just, it's misinformation.
Right.
We never get the right story. And then, a decade later, they'll release it where it matters, but it doesn't matter as much. And I think if they really release how much the October jobs affected the economy, like I said, we talked about the University of Michigan data that they release every month, the consumer confidence level. I think it'll go down even further, and it'll make things even more turmoil for things.
Let me give that phone number. Then I want to talk a little bit about the IRS and the retirement contribution limits for 2026. 833-362-3843. Call Rich. There's somebody in the office right now. And with your purchase of premium mintage coins, you're going to get 10% of your purchase in free silver. So let's say you buy $100,000 worth of gold, you're going to get $10,000 worth of free silver. $200,000 worth of premium mintage coins, you're going to get $20,000 worth of free silver. And then the ultimate payday, $250,000 worth of premium mintage coins, and then you immediately get $25,000 in free silver. 833-362-3843, 833-362-3843, or GoldenCrestMetals.com. I still haven't found anybody else making that offer of $25,000.
I haven't seen it yet either, and that's why it's only going to the end of the year, and then we're stopping it.
Okay. What about the IRS raising the retirement contribution limits? Is that for 401ks or IRAs? Or
it's 403bs, 457, TSPs.
What's a TSP?
That's a thrifty savings plan.
Okay.
So I think what we're going to see is it's going to cost more money to retire, which we already know because of inflation, and you're going to be older, right. if not dead. That's the problem, is that you're going to have to work until you die, basically.
That's right. Yeah.
The days of, retiring at 60 and doing nothing, which I never really believed in anyways, because you notice how people, that are active, they live longer.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm not saying this is a good thing, but, financially, it's horrible. Because people really have to work. I mean, you go to Walmart or Costco, and you got a guy there that he doesn't really want to be there. That's the checker, that's in his 70s, standing there for 8 hours a day.
Right.
And he, that's probably not something he wants to be doing.
Speaking of that, I drove home last night from the desert. It took me an hour, almost 2 hours to get home. And I stopped at Jack in the Box. And there's this young kid, probably 16, 17 years old. It's pouring rain in Riverside. And on a Saturday night when all of his buddies are out, partying and having a great time, he's working at Jack in the Box. But he had the best attitude in the world. And I said to him, I said, buddy, look, I know that you'd rather be somewhere else, anywhere but here. But your attitude is really going to take you far in life. And I think that attitude and enthusiasm are the keys to a really great life. People want to be around enthusiastic people.
They do. They want to be around depressed people.
That's right.
I mean, it's about the quality of life at the end of the day. I mean, you can't take money with you or a house with you into the grave. I mean, it's all about how you enjoy life.
Right.
And that's why when we got into this, into this gold and silver thing, it's to make you retire younger, but not to hide under the covers and watch TV, 12 hours a day. It's so you can get out and hang out with your friends, do the things that you travel, to see the world, do those type of things and enjoy life, because that's the only thing you can do is enjoy life.
Right.
People are so fixated about a house or this, that you can never get back the time when your kids are growing up.
That's exactly right. And it flies by.
I made that mistake when I was a workaholic, and I spent so much time at work and missed some times of my kids growing up. And I really missed that. And I can't get that back.
Yeah.
You're
right.
And it's not to get, philosophical at all. It's just a matter of make your money now so you can enjoy life later.
That's right.
And just work hard.
You have 2 kids, right?
2 kids.
And I have 1. When my daughter was born, my mom and my dad both said, the time is going to fly by, and you don't believe them. And then all of a sudden, she's in college.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Time flies, and then you'll never get those. You'll have the memories, but you never get the time back.
Yeah.
That you missed. And you just got to remember, work's important, but life is more important.
Right. And when you have money at the end, you can also stay in your home longer, and you don't have to move into a retirement home.
Yeah, exactly.
And enjoy that.
And be lonely.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then sit under the covers and watch TV for 12 hours. Actually, it sounds pretty good. Call Rich right now, 833-362-3843. Buy yourself some gold. When you do, you're going to have 10% of your purchase of premium mintage coins set aside and given to you in free silver. Free silver. Call right now before this deal evaporates at the end of the year. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. There are people in the office right now. And so phone them up. I imagine there are people who have done this. They go on Social Security. They don't really need the Social Security to live on. And they probably take that money and maybe even turn it into a purchase of gold. And every other month, they're looking at another ounce of gold.
Yeah, there's people that have called us that said, can I do like a recurring transaction monthly, where I just deposit $1,000 after they've made our minimum purchase requirements? And the answer is yes, they can do that. So we try to facilitate that as well. There's people also, which is amazing, in their 80s or 90s and say, listen, I know I'm not going to become a millionaire with this investment, but I want to leave a legacy for my children and my grandkids and everything else. So I want to list them as beneficiaries, so I set them up. I'm doing that, leaving some money in stocks and bonds, and I'm doing it with precious metals.
What is the minimum purchase for gold and silver?
So cash, it's $10,000. In an IRA or TSP or 401k is usually $25,000.
Okay, so cash is $10,000.
$10,000.
So right now you would get 2.5 ounces or so.
Yeah, you
for
get
10,000?
about 2 ounces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people. It's not just you. And you're in the business, so you have a dog in this fight. But there are a lot of people who are not. There are a lot of people in the stock market, a lot of people in the banking business that see gold going to $5,000 and $6,000 an ounce, not even in 20 years, but next year.
Yeah, they're saying in the next 6 months. So
wow.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs made these predictions that they were right about last year about this time. Nothing is a guarantee in life, but coming from those people, those are pretty good predictions. And based on the track record of what we've seen year to date with gold at 50% and silver at 70% gains, I think it's a sign of things to come.
Now, when you talk about the recession, and I see it all over the place, people are worried. But the recession comes in waves. I'm going to ask you because you're the professional. But I think the recession affects lower income people first, and then it moves on up to rich people. And rich people, probably very wealthy people, are probably not even affected by it.
Yeah, I think there's the 1% that probably are not affected by it, but I truly believe 99% of people are affected
Right.
in some fashion.
But does it hit the lower income people first?
Yeah, it definitely hits the lower income people first. It's like you said, it comes in waves. So the first wave kind of wipes out that lower tier class,
Right.
and then it hits middle class, and then eventually hits upper class.
There's an amazing stat out there that 65% of Americans don't have $500 set aside for emergencies.
When I worked for somebody, you would always have to have 6 months
Sure.
of salary in your savings account. If a God forbid situation, you got laid off or terminated.
Right. And
or
your
whatever.
dad probably taught you that.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, always have 6 months ready of reserves
Right.
because that's going to be how long it's going to take for you to find a job. It was different back then because then you had the classifieds in the newspaper that you'd be looking through.
That's right.
Versus Indeed, where you'd message people immediately for a job, or LinkedIn.
This LinkedIn and the new way to get jobs is very depressing for kids coming out of college. With a push of a button, they can send their resume to 2,000 companies and get 2,000 rejections immediately.
Yeah. And I just remember the days of looking in the newspaper, the classifieds, calling, setting up an interview.
That's right.
And you'd have one per week. Now, like you said, you could just blast somebody with 2,000 emails at once and, get your resume out there. It was a lot different back then. That's why you had 6 months of reserves.
That's right. I was at Dick's Sporting Goods up in Portland, and I'm waiting to pay for something, and I'm in line, and I can clearly hear the woman on the phone giving directions to somebody and giving like physical directions of where the Dick's, Sporting Goods is. And when she got off the phone, she was standing there and I said, did somebody ask for directions here? Like in 2025, people are still asking for directions. And she said, get this, he put in an application. He has a job interview and he's lost. He doesn't know how to find Dick's Sporting Goods. I said, that's not the kind of guy.
I guess you sent him to Big Five.
I can't imagine calling my future employer to ask where they
I'm
are.
lost. Yeah, I'm lost.
Doesn't start off on a great foot. All right, call this number right now. Call Rich, call GoldenCrest Metals, and get their free silver before this deal evaporates at the first of the year. It's a sweet deal. It's 10% of your purchase of premium mintage coins in free silver. 100% free silver. It's yours immediately. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. GoldenCrestMetals.com. GoldenCrestMetals.com. If somebody called you and said, I would like $20,000 in gold and I would like it sent to my home, what's the time period between the time they write a check till the time they get the gold?
It depends on the type of coins. So,
okay.
It basically, that's what it really depends on, what the availability and what's going on right now. So I remember months ago, it was almost immediate. Now,
oh, really?
Yeah. Now there's a little bit of a lag time depending on the type of coins that we want.
Oh, okay. Do people still buy gold bars?
They do. They still buy gold bars. And sometimes we put that in the portfolio just as a God forbid situation. So
is there a standard weight to a gold bar?
It's usually 1 ounce.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, there's usually a 1 ounce. I mean, a kilogram is over $100,000 these days. But,
right.
I don't know. I've had a bunch of people call that are off their rocker saying, I'll take 10 of those. And then you call, and then you try to call them the next day and they don't pick up the phone, obviously.
They're gone.
The phone number's disconnected.
When somebody is out mining for gold, and again, I'm sure this is not, the part of business you're in, but maybe you know this. When somebody's out there mining in the mountains of California or Alaska or Washington, and they find gold, is that gold 99.9% pure?
I don't know if it's actually the purity is there because, it's been in, it's raw.
Right.
So it hasn't been refined or anything.
Oh,
so,
you can refine it, though, to make it 99.9.
As I understand it, you can.
We talked about this, the fires in Altadena out here in California and also in Pacific Palisades and Malibu. The people in Palisades and Malibu have a lot of money, and a lot of people had gold and silver in their homes, and it melted in the safe, and it melted into the ground. Does that contaminate the gold?
Yeah, because some of it melted with the safe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it actually melted with the fireproof safe.
So now there's a new combination of metals then.
Yeah, so we can sell that now.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's why people are trying to break into Pacific Palisades and Malibu to get that gold.
It was gold, money, anything,
from
what we were seeing.
All right, call this number right now. Call Rich and get your free silver. It's absolutely free, and it's yours. 10% of your purchase of premium mintage coins, and you get free silver. Free silver. You heard it right on this radio station. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. 833-362-3843. Or go to GoldenCrestMetals.com. GoldenCrestMetals.com. Rich, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well, Tim.
Back here next week at this exact same time.
You got it. I look forward to it.
Me too. All right, have a nice week. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to go to the website, GoldenCrestMetals.com.